I don't care how many mean things she wakes up to on Twitter. And I don't care what her fans, her supporters wake up to on Twitter either. The data seems to indicate that there's really not some giant, like, preponderance of Bernie bros out there who are significantly more antagonistic than people from other groups. This is a manufactured narrative, and the manufactured narrative is all about civility, and it's part of a strategy that they play, the establishment, to always blame the left. Always. Because no matter what happens, Bernie Sanders supporters are going to get blamed. Every single time. If Joe Biden becomes the candidate and Joe Biden loses against Donald Trump, it will be because Bernie Sanders was divisive and the Bernie bros went and voted for Trump, or the Bernie bros abstained from the election, or Bernie's divisive rhetoric pulled viewers away, or voters away from Biden. But if you're like me and you agree that it is morally acceptable for people to be passionate and antagonistic about this, the most high-stakes race there is in the world, then you should agree with me on something else. Everybody out there who is trying to make an optics issue out of Bernie Sanders supporters or Bernie bros is part of the problem. They are elevating that discourse, that promotion of civility politics over actual political discourse, that elevation of egotism and narcissism and personal feelings over what will actually benefit the country, of tone policing, which is undeniably most of what goes on towards Bernie bros, over substantive discourse. Essentially, of feelings over facts. Everyone who elevates this discourse is part of the problem. Destiny does this, where he said, I had a private conversation with him, I'm not leaking the particulars, but the gist of it is that Destiny, someone who has in the past said he believes that you could morally justify killing conservatives for their vote because, conservative voters led to a lot of things that killed other people. A position that I am respectful towards. Destiny will nonetheless make a bunch of arguments about how Bernie bros are ruining this election for Bernie Sanders with their hyperbolic rhetoric and their snakes and their rats and oh, it's so yikes. No, you're elevating that discourse. If you agree that people should have the moral right to be passionate and antagonistic when it comes to life or death situations like the presidency, then you should agree that framing discourse in a way that denigrates them for doing so is morally harmful. He does this too, he'll switch between it. He'll frame it as though bros are doing something immoral with their snake and rat spamming. But then, if you push him on that, he'll move to the other position, which is that it's bad optics. Well, for one, those are two different arguments. And for two, if you believe it's moral for them to do so, you shouldn't be elevating the fucking respectability politics that makes it more difficult for them to morally advocate for the things that they believe in. Warren does this. We just saw Warren do this. Everybody does this. Every single person who talks about the Bernie bro question elevates respectability politics, the idea that in some way, shape, or form, a contest for the greatest position there is in the world, the most powerful, the most respected position there is in the world, should be subject to discourse over whether or not people are mean on Twitter and that meanness makes people behave in ways which are divisive and therefore No. Bernie supporters have every reason and every right to act the way that they do. A lot is at stake, and we've, experienced quite a bit of disappointment when it comes to the capacity for improvement to be made to society through respectable channels. The antagonism is warranted. And if anyone, or you or anyone else out there, is genuinely considering changing your vote because Bernie supporters were mean to you, you're a fucking horrible person. You're a horrible human being. That seems to be the reason why Elizabeth Warren is dawdling on the nomination or endorsement, which at this point won't really mean that much. And I think she's a horrible human being too. Quit elevating your personal fucking feelings, your personal hurt baby feelings over substantive moral assessments over which candidate would be better for the United States of America. If you consider yourself a progressive and you vote for Biden over Bernie, you're not a progressive. You simply are not, because you're not acting in a way that progressives would act. That is the flat line for being a progressive. I'm very sorry. It's doing progressive things. There's nothing progressive about throwing your weight behind an establishment candidate. Certainly not with Joe Biden's record. Anyone who changes their vote based on Bernie bros is a piece of shit. And anyone who elevates discourse over the harm Bernie bros do to the respectability of the presidential race is also a piece of shit, because you are contributing to the worsening of discourse.